Good morning, Patriots. Welcome to the 318th consecutive Friday meeting of the East Valley Red Friday Patriots. Thank you for your attendance, and thank you for demonstrating your support for this mission of Red Friday. You know, it never ceases to amaze me with the feedback that I receive about this Red program, whether it comes directly to me or through indirect sources. The positive impact that this program has had on our community, especially our veteran community and their families, is quite admirable, to say the least. You, our members, have masterfully crafted an environment where patriotism is absolutely unharnessed and it's on full display week after week. It's an environment where veterans and non-veterans come together in solidarity, and you demonstrate and express your love of country and our support for America's armed forces, and in essence, you've created a brotherhood of patriots. It's also an environment that offers unique learning experiences about our military, past, present, and future. And we reinforce the importance of commemorating special military-themed holidays and events. We do that to ensure that these events are not relegated to simply a date on a calendar. We explore their history. We explore their significance. We frequently tap numerous resources that allow us to better understand veteran services, support programs, and a number of the people who manage those programs have become ardent supporters of our Red Friday mission. Therefore, I encourage you to never doubt the importance of what you do here. You matter. This program matters. Our collective demonstration of patriotism matters. So thank you for entrusting the facilitation of your program with our dedicated Red Friday coordinators and staff personnel. Their sole objective is to ensure the delivery of a program you can all take immense pride in. Let's take a moment and get caught up on a current event that shook the world, literally. Recently, there's been a massive amount of debate as to the effectiveness of Operation Midnight Hammer, the B-2 Spirit stealth bomber strike on Iran's nuclear facilities. Satellite images of surface damage have been analyzed by the pundits to the point of ridiculousness, and their commentary has not let up. The unanswered question is, did Iran move the enriched uranium prior to the strikes? And the answer is yes. It is highly likely, but yet to be undeniably confirmed that Iran moved enriched uranium before the Operation Midnight Hammer strikes. Intelligence assessments reports indicate that Iran may have relocated a significant portion of its highly enriched uranium stockpile to undisclosed locations before the attacks. Now, this assessment is supported by satellite imagery showing defensive measures at Fordow, as well as statements from officials and experts. Regardless, Iran has suffered a significant setback in their quest to deliver nuclear warheads and further impose a threat upon neighboring countries in the Middle East, but potentially upon the world. Now, As we are aware, the lethality of the precision-guided bunker buster bomb, commonly referred to as MOP, Massive Ordnance Penetrator, is second only to a nuclear bomb. As a conventional weapon, it carries a massive punch. It will be interesting to learn the exact extent of damage it rendered upon Iran's nuclear sites. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, thank you. I want to take an opportunity here to introduce a few first-time guests with us. Dennis Croft. Dennis, will you stand over there, please? Dennis is a part of the leadership team over at Fountain of the Sun Veterans Group, and he is also a United States Army veteran, served 1969 to 71, military police. Glad to have you with us.
Thank you, Dick.
Now, you have as a comrade in arms, as part of your leadership team, Chris Girolamo. Chris has been with us before. Glad to have you back with us, Chris. How many guys do you have over there in your veterans group?
Around 250.
250. How many homes do you have in Fountain of the Sun?
How many what?
How many homes?
2,357.
You've got a wonderful group over there.
We have about 4,000 residents during the high season, about 50% during the summer.
Superb. And you guys, for your veterans group, meet once
a month, the second Friday of any month, and you're all invited at any time to join one of our free breakfasts.
Let me ask you something, Dennis.
But Dick, I can't walk into a bar and get a Diet Coke. So,
but Dennis, I need to ask now. Do y'all pay dues for your veterans group?
No dues.
How is that supported?
Well, we get donations. We have fundraisers. We have a 50-50 every meeting. We are skinny and efficient.
Superb. Well, congratulations on a great group over there. I've heard a great deal about you. Believe me, we'll take an opportunity to come join you here in the near future.
Okay, but I do want to alert you to one event. January 24th, we have a huge military vehicle parade. And we have deuce and a halves and Hummers and everything. And it's put on by the Arizona Historical Military Vehicle Association. And we had like 10 vehicles last time. We're going to have more this year. We do a parade twice around, get everybody in there, and it's a challenge sometimes to get some of our vets in those vehicles. But please, January 24th, come for the free breakfast and then a parade in the military vehicles.
Thank you for joining us.
And that's a Saturday, because all these guys who restore these vehicles work during the week.
Chris, glad to have you back with us as well. Also, Shane McNeil. Shane, where are you located? Right here. Shane is Evelyn Hammond's son, and you are a resident over where, Gilbert, is that correct?
Chandler.
In Chandler. Yeah. This is the first time that you've had an opportunity to visit with us, as I recall.
It is.
And I would assume the reason for that is that you're working and paying for our Social Security?
Yeah. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Glad to have you with us today. Also, Jason Brooks. Jason, you are Jennifer's husband.
Correct.
And Jennifer is Dee's daughter.
That is correct.
So you are a son-in-law.
Yes, sir.
I'm glad that I was able to figure that out.
That's why you're a sergeant major.
Yeah, but we still pay for breakfast here.
Yes, we do.
So you have Friday off because it's Independence Day, otherwise that you're working and helping contribute to our support as well?
Yes, sir.
We thank you for that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for joining us. How about giving our guests a hoo-ah here? Thank you, thank you, thank you. And how about those all those table decorations and 4th of July Independence Day decorations you see around the hall here? I want to take an opportunity and say a major league thank you to Pam Williams, to Inez Heineman, Sue Kenyon, and Hank Nations. Will you ladies stand? Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You know, on the first Friday of each month, we like to recognize our Red Friday members who will be celebrating a birthday during the course of that month. And I'd like to ask that all of you that are celebrating a birthday in the month of July, please stand. 3, 4. Okay, we've got 4 of you here, and I'm sure that there are countless more that are watching us on this camera back here. Let's give these folks a hoo-ah for celebrating birthday. Well, congratulations on having survived another year, and a very happy birthday to you all. You know, I know that my list of birthday celebrants may be somewhat incomplete, and if I fail to recognize you, I apologize, but my records have the following red members identified for us to send a shout out. Andrew Avellino, Greg Beasley, Leroy McKimmey, Bill Shoemate, Walt Smiles, Ron Watkins, Charlene Norsby, Jim Estes, Linda Callahan, Dick Phipps, Don Stevens, Joni Mathis, Nancy Fassbender, Kelly McDonald, Mark Lawrence, Eugene Zerquist, and Frank Escapolio, Steve Schreiner, Rod Wheeler, and Sean Lewis. Again, happy birthday to all of you. And we should also express our appreciation for the trio who delivered the donuts this morning, Kelly McDonald and her husband Barry, and Dennis Miller, sitting back here in the back. Thank you for your donation for those donuts. Thank you, thank you. Can I have a hoo-ah for these folks? Thank you. You know, I've got a nephew that lives over in East Texas. He was in town, and he called me the other day, and he said he was in Scottsdale on business. And he asked me to join him one evening for burger and beer. Well, I hadn't seen him in several years, so I drove over to meet up with him, and we had a good time getting caught up with our lives. But right before I was getting ready to say adios and head back to Mesa, he said, "Richard, I've got something to tell you." Now, if you've ever heard those words, "I've got something to tell you," you perk up and you start wondering what the hell is coming next. And if they include your name, Richard, I've got something to tell you, you might be in for a long night. So this is what my nephew told me. He said, late one afternoon last month, my wife arrived home after a long shopping trip, and she found my sorry ass in bed with a young, gorgeous woman. He said, needless to say, my wife was horrified. And Richard, just as she was about to storm out of the house, I stopped her with these words. I said, "Sugar Toes, before you leave, I just want you to hear me out on how all this came about. Driving home this afternoon, I saw this young girl looking poor and tired. So I offered her a ride. Then she said she was hungry. So I brought her home and I fed her some of your leftover roast beef that's been in our refrigerator forever and that you've not ever used. I saw that her shoes were worn out. So I gave her a pair of your shoes that I don't ever see you wear anymore because they're so out of style. She was so cold that I gave her that new birthday sweater that you haven't even worn once because the color didn't suit you. And her dress was somewhat torn and stained. So I gave her a pair of the slacks that you were hanging on to that were located in the back of your closet. Don't fit you anymore. Then as the girl was about to leave, she paused for a moment. And she said, "Is there anything else that your wife doesn't use anymore?" So here we are, sweet pea. Well, after hearing that confession, I kept thinking to myself on my drive back to Mesa, was it really worth it for my nephew? You guys think my East Texas folks are fictional. They are not. You know, this Red Friday group is honored to have ardent supporters. And amongst that group are several members of Daughters of the American Revolution, Apache Trail chapter. In fact, 4 chapter members flew to Washington, D.C. and participated in the Daughters of the American Revolution Continental Congress, which is a time-honored tradition that has been held in D.C. as the annual national meeting of the DAR membership since the organization's founding in 1890. Now, not to be confused with the United States Congress, the DAR national meeting is named after the original Continental Congress, which governed the American colonies during the Revolutionary War. National, state, and chapter DAR leaders, as well as other members from across the world, meet at the DAR national headquarters for a week during the summer to report the year's work, to honor outstanding award recipients, and to plan future initiatives and reconnect with friends. Those in attendance include over 3,000 delegates representing the membership of nearly 190,000 daughters from all 50 states, the District of Columbia, and many international chapters. Since its founding, the DAR has promoted historic preservation, education, and patriotism. And those objectives are reflected in all of the events of DAR Continental Congress. Now, the week-long convention is indeed quite busy with a host of memorable functions for all those in attendance. Representing the Apache Trail chapter of the conference were Kelly McDonald, Barry's wife, Karen Confederate, Amy Farlinger, who is here today, and Suzanne Ryan. Now, Kelly and Karen have remained in D.C. to participate in today's Independence Day parade with the DAR entry. And we look forward to having them joining us again here next Friday. Now, this photo was taken last Friday, June 27, and as you can see, the ladies are all adorned in red. So I would ask that the only surviving member of this group, please stand and be recognized. Amy? Amy said that when she returned, she has never in her life been as exhausted as the parties that were held in Washington, D.C. Can I have a hoo-ah for these ladies? Thank you. Amy, and to all of your DAR members, thank you for all of the meaningful work that your chapter does for our community. Your focus on historic preservation, education, and patriotism is unparalleled, and your tremendous support of America's armed forces works hand in hand with our Red Friday mission. Thank you. And speaking of the American Revolution and the historical events that followed, allow me to take you on a brief journey. Today, July 4th, Americans celebrate Independence Day, one of our more important federal holidays. Above all, most people in the United States express and give thanks for the freedom and the liberties fought for by the first generation of many of today's Americans. Those who are not necessarily grateful for those freedoms are quite likely misguided and misinformed minions and puppets of America's adversaries, be they foreign or domestic. We think of July 4, 1776, as the day that represents the Declaration of Independence, America's revolutionary charter of freedom, and the document upon which the nation's founding principles were established. But July 4th wasn't the day that independence was declared, nor the day that the Declaration was officially signed. So you might ask, what did happen on July 4, 1776? What this holiday commemorates is the adoption of the Declaration of Independence on July 4, 1776. That adoption was by delegates from the 13 colonies. On the July 4 time date, the Continental Congress approved the final wording of the Declaration. And it is this day that we celebrate the birth of the United States. Here are some significant dates to remember. April 19, 1775 was the start of the American Revolution. During the battles of Lexington and Concord, the first shots were fired between colonists and British troops. After these first military conflicts, tension between Britain and her American colonists continued to mount. On July 2nd, 1776, the Second Continental Congress voted for independence from Britain. 2 days later, July 4, 1776, Congress approved the final draft of the Declaration of Independence, which had been drafted by Thomas Jefferson 1 month earlier in June and then edited by John Adams and Benjamin Franklin. 4 days later, July 8, 1776, the first public reading of the Declaration took place at Pennsylvania State House, Philadelphia, now referred to as Independence Hall. Later that same day, other readings occurred in Trenton, New Jersey, and Easton, Pennsylvania. Printer John Dunlap made about 200 copies of the Declaration with the date of July 4. These were known as the Dunlap Broadside, and these copies were distributed throughout the 13 colonies. However, it would be 1 full month after the Continental Congress approved the final draft, August 2nd, 1776, that the Declaration was officially signed. The Honorable John Hancock, President of the Congress, was the first of 56 delegates who signed this enlarged version writing in big, bold letters. And for almost 250 years now, when we are asked to sign a legal document, we are asked for our John Hancock. What a legacy. Then, August 4, 1776, 2 days after the delegates of the Continental Congress had signed the document, the Declaration of Independence was made official. Allow me to read from that phenomenal document the following paragraph. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whatever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall most likely be to offset their safety and happiness. It's interesting to note that John Adams described the way Americans should celebrate their independence each year. He envisioned the celebration to be one filled with fun, games, and fireworks. Not an occasion for displaying military strength as one might expect. On July 3rd, 1776, he wrote these words to his wife, Abigail, capturing the spirit of the times. Yesterday, the greatest question was decided, which ever was debated in America, and a greater, perhaps, never was or will be decided among men. A resolution was passed without one dissenting colony that these united colonies are and of right ought to be free and independent states, and as such, they have and of right ought to have full power to make war, conclude peace, establish commerce, and to do all other acts and things which other states might rightfully do. John Adams went on to write, the second day of July, 1776, will be the most memorable time in the history of America. I am apt to believe that it will be celebrated by succeeding generations as the great anniversary festival. It ought to be solemnized with pomp and parade and shows, games, sports, guns, bells, bonfires, and illuminations from one end of this continent to the other, from this time forward and forevermore. And here we are today, 249 years after the Continental Congress approved the final wording, celebrating the birth of America with parades, with shows, with games, sports, bells, bonfires, and fireworks from one end of this continent to the other. Interestingly, Thomas Jefferson and John Adams, both signers of the Declaration of Independence and presidents of the United States, died on July 4, 1826, exactly 50 years after the adoption of the Declaration. You know, as much as John Adams would like to have witnessed July 4 designated as an official national holiday from the onset, Independence Day did not become an official holiday until 1870, 96 years after signing of the Declaration, when Congress made it an unpaid holiday for federal employees. 1938, it was changed to a paid federal holiday. They got free breakfast. Fast forward 249 years, and this nation still stands superior to any nation in the world. Our nation has been tested time and time and time again. It is currently being tested, and it will continue to be tested by those who simply cannot tolerate the idea of a free society and will stop at nothing to pierce the very fabric of our core principles. Thank God Almighty for those 56 delegates representing the 13 colonies of an emerging nation who had the vision, the character, and the personal fortitude to deliver what has become the most prized and celebrated single document in history. That document, the Declaration of Independence, states three basic ideas. One, God made all men equal and gave them the rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Two, the main business of government is to protect these rights. And three, if a government tries to withhold these rights, the people are free to revolt and set up a new government. No doubt, it's important to remember what Independence Day means to Americans at home and abroad, how incredibly lucky we are that those individuals, years, generations ago, were willing to fight and die for freedom and independence. 25,000 of them gave their lives for independence from Great Britain. For that, we must be eternally grateful. We need not look further than the continuing crisis in Ukraine and Israel as stark reminders of exactly the importance and the fragility of a representative democracy. The liberties we often take for granted here in America must be fiercely defended both at home and abroad. And that fight is not confined to any one nation or people. It's a universal struggle that requires collective resolve and unwavering determination. In fact, that defense of freedom is a duty we all share regardless of race, gender, creed, or color. Today, some organizations and powerful people around the world would like us to believe that democracy is teetering on the brink of crisis. A crisis rooted in an ideological clash between opposing visions. In many ways, this clash has actually defined world history. It's our vision of democracy, the American vision, that has found itself tested time and time again in the War of 1812, the Indian Wars, the Mexican-American War, Spanish-American War, Philippine-American War, the Boxer Rebellion in China, World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Middle East, and the continuing global war on terror. It will forever be tested because undeniably there is evil in this world. These armed conflicts, while varying in scope and intensity, all contributed to shaping our nation and solidifying its place in the world. They also highlight the challenge and struggles faced by the United States in its early years, both internally and externally. So, as we celebrate Independence Day, I think that it's imperative that we thank the men and women who serve our nation at home and abroad for all they do to keep America safe and for their vigilance in thwarting any attempt to push this democracy into crisis. You know, when George Washington issued one of his first general orders on July 4, 1775, he transformed a loose group of colonial militias into a single force that were all united in a common cause. They built a legacy that lives on today through generations of patriots like you who have defended the ideals enshrined in our founding documents. The belief that we are all created equal and endowed with unalienable rights to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. It's the risk that many of you in this room have taken and the sacrifices you and your loved ones have made that ensure those ideals endure for all Americans. This Independence Day, America must surely honor the 1.3 million Armed Forces personnel, including the 228,000 troops currently serving overseas and unable to spend this holiday with their loved ones, who continue to protect our country and ensure a more peaceful and prosperous world for our families. In Europe and the Middle East, across the Asia-Pacific, Africa, in cyberspace and at home, our warfighters prove that wherever our troops go, the highest ideals, the one Washington and his troops fought for, go with them. I wish to close with a quote from Calvin Coolidge, the 30th President of the United States, who served 1923 to 1929. Coolidge was sworn in after President Harding's unexpected death. Harding's administration was steeped in scandal, but Coolidge is known for restoring integrity to the executive branch by rooting out corruption and being a model of integrity. In his speech given on the 150th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, July 4, 1926, 99 years ago, President Coolidge said this about the Declaration: "It was not because it was proposed to establish a new nation, but because it was proposed to establish a nation on new principles, that July 4, 1776 has become to be regarded as one of the greatest days in history. Great ideas do not burst upon the world unannounced. They are reached by a gradual development over a length of time, usually proportionate to their importance. This is especially true of the principles laid down in the Declaration of Independence. 3 very definite propositions were set out in its preamble regarding the nature of mankind and therefore of government. These were the doctrine that all men are created equal, that they are endowed with certain inalienable rights, and that therefore the source of the just powers of government must be derived from the consent of the governed. God bless our founding fathers, and may God bless America's warfighters in this great nation that they are sworn to defend. I want to wish each of you a very happy Independence Day. I do have a few announcements I would like to make. One, we do have guest speakers coming up for the month of July. We hope that you're planning on being able to join and support them. Also, I want to remind you that today, this American Legion Post 27 is having their annual early bird event. They'll be set up over there in the bar area, and then they will be transferring in here after we depart. This is a major annual recruiting for the Legion, and it is, if you wish to join or renew your membership, it is really a bargain, because if you purchase a membership today, July, it will be good not just for 1 year, it'll be good for 18 months through the end of 2026. So that's a pretty good bargain, to say the least. So I encourage you to either renew, or if you're not a member, to join. You know that we have no affiliation with the American Legion, but certainly theirs is a very honorable program, and they have been stellar in providing our access to this dining hall each week. Also, I want to remind you that the Military Order of the Purple Heart, Chapter 2560 here in the East Valley, is conducting an online auction beginning July 1, 3 days ago. And that online auction will run through July 31. And the auction is dubbed Christmas in July. Its sole purpose is to raise money for Wreaths Across America. Nancy Fassbender is the area coordinator for Wreaths. She will have flyers that you can pick up as you depart the building today. And I would encourage you to go online and take a look at some fabulous items that are on this online auction. Some of them, there are 3 or more items that can be bid on. There's also, in many of them, a buy it now, just like on eBay. But the whole intent is to support Wreaths Across America. I really implore you to support that. Also, I would like to ask that on your departure, if you will leave your name badges at the greeting desk, I would be most appreciative. And because the Legion needs to have access to this room shortly, I would appreciate it if we can get this cleaned up and stored as quickly as possible. To our guests, thank you for joining us today. We sincerely hope that you will return to share in our camaraderie and our support for the mission of R.E.D. Please know that you will always be welcome at our Friday assemblies. And as a final reminder, let's not overlook the importance of Red Friday missions, to keep our deployed warfighters in our thoughts and prayers, and to continue to demonstrate our support for these fine men and women. Please enjoy your weekend.